Anyone who has OCD or any kind of mental illness really has probably asked themselves this one question at some point. Why did this happen to me? What could have caused something like this? Who's responsible for this?
I just want to talk to him.
Why do you have a shotgun?
I just want to talk to him.
Dad, this is ridiculous!
I just want to
Put
talk to him.
that gun
I
away!
just want to talk to him.
If you want to get a straightforward answer to that question, I have bad news. The science of what causes mental illness is called etiology, and it's a hugely complex matter that involves multiple factors interacting together to create the perfect storm. So pinpointing one specific thing that caused your OCD is going to be really difficult, not to mention inaccurate. I'm Anna, welcome to my channel, and today I'll be talking about some of the theories behind what causes OCD, or more accurately, what contributes to the development of OCD. Disclaimer, once again, I am not a mental health professional. I'm just someone who's dealt with this disorder for over a decade, and I did a bunch of research because I wanted to know why I had to deal with this bullshit. When it comes to the theories behind what causes mental illness, there are two main streams of thought. So the first one focuses on biological and physical aspects of mental illness, and the second one looks more closely at environmental factors. So the experiences that you go through that may lead to you developing a mental illness. And these can be grouped under the umbrella of psychosocial theories. And because this is such a huge topic, this video is going to focus on biological theories only. For psychosocial theories, I will make a second video, so stay tuned for part 2. Biological models of mental illness usually look at things like your central nervous system, so your brain and your spinal cord, your endocrine system, and that includes everything related to hormone production and regulation, and also your genes. So studies based on the central nervous system have looked a lot at neurotransmitters, which are these chemical substances that act as little messengers inside your brain. And when neurotransmitters don't work the way they're supposed to, that can lead to either too much or too little activity in some areas of your brain. And that's associated with mental illnesses like OCD. Many studies about neurotransmitters in OCD have focused on serotonin, which is commonly known as the feel-good neurotransmitter. And that's because a lot of drugs that work on serotonin, like SSRIs, have proved to be the most efficient medication against OCD. Scientists have also hypothesized that OCD might be linked to an imbalance in dopamine, which regulates your brain's reward system and is highly involved in learning processes. Other important neurotransmitters that are possibly involved in OCD include glutamate and GABA, which are, I think, two very fun words to say. Glutamate. GABA. So glutamate has a stimulating effect on your neurons, and GABA has more of a calming effect that inhibits neural activity. And the two of them typically work in balance together. But studies have shown that people with OCD tend to have higher levels of glutamate in specific areas of the brain and lower levels of GABA. Then there's studies that look at the endocrine system, which is everything that has to do with hormones. Hormones are chemical substances produced by certain glands inside your body, and they have a huge effect on your behavior. Many studies about hormone dysregulation in OCD have shown that people with OCD tend to have less melatonin and more cortisol than the average person. So melatonin is the major hormone involved in regulating your sleep cycle, and cortisol is usually known as the stress hormone. Wait, so you're telling me that the stress hormone is higher in people who have OCD? Huh, I never would have guessed that.
No, I don't know what I expected.
And this might not be what you think of immediately when you think OCD, but sexual hormones like estrogen and progesterone actually have a pretty big impact on it as well. So for female patients, everything from menstruation to childbirth and pregnancy can leave us more vulnerable to either develop OCD for the first time or see symptoms of it get worse. And I actually didn't know this before doing research for this video, but apparently postpartum OCD is something that affects a lot of new mothers after childbirth. And it's really heartbreaking because these new moms often deal with intrusive thoughts about harming their baby or doubting their abilities as a mother. I've dealt with a lot of OCD themes in my time, but I've never dealt with this one personally, and I can't imagine how hard it must be. Finally, to cap off biological theories, we also see a lot of studies about the genetic component of mental illness. When it comes to OCD, there's a large body of research that suggests it does indeed run in families. So lots of family studies show that relatives of people who have OCD are significantly more likely to also have OCD, or at least show symptoms of it. And this supports the theory that genes are at least partly responsible for the development of the disorder. Other genetic studies have looked more specifically at the severity and the type of your OCD symptoms. And it turns out that depending on how bad your symptoms are, or what kind of subtype of OCD you struggle with, genes may have had a more or less important role to play in you developing the disorder in the first place. But whether we're talking about neurotransmitters, hormones, or genes, there's one thing that's very important to remember when it comes to the biological factors of a mental illness. Correlation is not causation. What this means is that two things can occur at the same time in a person without there being a relationship of cause and effect between them. So just because you observe A and B doesn't mean you can say that A caused B. As far as we know, maybe they were both caused by a third hidden factor. Or maybe B actually caused A. Those neurotransmitter imbalances that I was talking about, we're still not sure if they cause OCD by influencing our behavior, or if they're actually the result of OCD constantly stimulating the same brain areas over and over again. Whenever we find a biological marker for a mental illness, it can be very tempting to assume that we found the cause of it, the physical root. But the reality is not that simple. The best we can say is that we might be one step closer to an answer. So these are some of the possible biological factors that contribute to OCD. Obviously, there are many, many more, but I couldn't fit all of them in this video. We also need to keep in mind that research is constantly progressing and unveiling new hints to the mystery of OCD. At every moment, scientists are working hard to increase our knowledge so that we can better understand and manage this disorder. And we thank them for it. Meanwhile, I'm here making silly little videos.
I'm doing my part.
Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something for this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments and I will try my best to answer them. Also, stay tuned for part 2 of this video, which is going to be about the psychosocial theories behind OCD. Until then, bye-bye!